Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda and in today's video we are going to be doing a sculpting gel tutorial, and basically in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how I fix a broken nail to make it look as natural as the remaining nails so that you wouldn't necessarily know that a tip has been sculpted on. So starting off, as you can see, my natural nails, I've had them this length for a little while now and I quite like them this length. I can't have too long nails. They tend to break when I'm working and things like that. But I've really liked having them with a little bit of length. However, I happened to break the pointer finger the other day and I was really gutted because I didn't want to file the rest of my nails down, which is what I normally would do. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you guys how I sculpt a tip on and keep everything looking as natural as possible, because I have really loved having the very natural minimalist look on my nails. And a lot of the time I've been doing that using the Kiki London rubber base system. So we're going to start off anyway by prepping these nails. So I have scrubbed with some alcohol to make sure everything is clean and sanitized, and then we're going to go in and start our prep. So to start with prep, I'm going to be using the Vienna cuticle tool. I don't feel as though I've used this one too much in videos. I've preferred to, or not necessarily preferred, but I've used the Helsinki a lot more in a lot of previous videos and the Sophia. But I really love the sharp blade on this one. So it has a round end, and then as you can see it's got quite a straight sharp blade on the other end. So I go in with the round end, which I really love the curve to this. I feel as though it really helps push back all the cuticles, scrape off any excess, but it lifts up any of those stubborn pieces of dead skin that are around the cuticle area, which you can then flip your tool around and go in with that blade and literally slice them away. Now you do need to be super careful because this is very sharp, so as always just take precautions when you are using it. Then I'm going to come in with my Milan cuticle nippers and just nip off any excess stuff that was a little bit too stubborn for the blade, or just those little tiny bits that you might necessarily not be able to get rid of with a cuticle pusher. So I'm just going to nip those off. I only had them on my little finger. So we're then going to move on, and I'm going to basically start off today by using the 180 grit side of the Kiki London file to shape my natural nails. Now I've been wearing these kind of like a square. I've had square going on for a little while now. I've quite liked that shape, and then I've decided we're going to stick with that because they pretty much are a square anyway. The edges have just got rounded from where I removed my rubber base, I think a couple of days ago. So since removing that, my nails seem quite thin, so they wear down quite easily. So I'm going to come in and just use the 180 grit side of the file to get these nails to the length that I want them to be, and then to come in and sharpen up that shape so everything's nice and crisp. I do come in and shape again after I've applied my sculpting gel, but I like my base to basically be what I want the end result to look like. Then once we've finished shaping, I'm going to come in and etch the nail plate using the 180 grit side of the file. So you can do this before or after shaping the nail, whichever you prefer. When it comes to etching, you want to be really careful. This part of the video has been sped up, so it does look as though I'm being a little bit rougher than what I actually am, but you want to kind of picture it, or either like the way I had it described to me, which really helped me, was you want to imagine you're tickling the nail plate with the file. So you want to be really careful. You don't want to be filing or sanding in to that natural nail plate. You literally want to just remove the shine. You can also do this with a buffer if you don't feel comfortable doing it with the 180 grit side of the file. And then basically though, all we are wanting to do is to remove that shine so that we get really good adhesion between our base coat and our natural nail plate. Once I've done that, you're going to dust away all of the dust that's been caused from your prep and your filing, and then I'm going to go in with an alcohol wipe and clean the nails again to sanitize them, but also to dehydrate them ready for our primer. So I'm making sure to give the nails a really good scrub. You might see that your nails have a little bit of a white or chalky appearance after doing this, which is completely fine. It's just dehydrated them. Then I'm going to take my Kiki London primer, and this is going to prime the nails ready for our base coat. So this is an air drying primer, so I'm just taking a small amount and applying it to all of the nails. It's quite a wet product, so you'll see it goes on and you look as though you've applied something wet to the nails, but then it air dries. And then we're going to come in with our base coat. So for today's base coat, I have chose RB18. This is one of the latest base coats, and I really love this color. It's a really nice, natural, kind of like a milky pinky nude shade. Now I'm going to be using the Natural Cover Sculpting Gel today, and I felt as though this paired really nicely with that. Now that is a very opaque gel anyway, so you're not going to really see this color underneath, but it's nice to have a matching color under it, because if there are any areas where you apply it a little bit thin, say down at that cuticle area or around those sidewalls, you're covering up the natural now with a hint of color from your base coat anyway. If you don't want to use one of the rubber color bases, you can use any of the base coats with the sculpting gel. The rubber base coats though are just my favorite, especially if you're like myself and you've got quite weak, brittle, thin nails. It just gives you that extra layer of strength right there on the natural nail. I find this adheres amazingly to my nails as well. I am one of those people who suffer quite a bit with peeling, and no matter how well I prep, I have always suffered with it. However, when I switched to using the Kiki London rubber base system, I've not had any of that peeling or lifting on the nail plate. So it works really well for me. Sometimes when it comes to base coats or when it comes to any products, you're going to find some work better for others and things like that. That's why it's great that there are quite a few base coats in the Kiki London system to choose from. So you have the rubber base system, which is colors, and then there is also a clear version as well. Then there is the regular base coat. Then there's also the Hema-free base coat, and another favorite of mine is the fiber base that has synthetic fibers in there, which is brilliant for adding a layer of strength to the nails as well. So it works similar to the rubber base, but the consistency is quite different. So you might find that you have a client that the rubber base doesn't suit. You could always try the fiber base, and vice versa. Now when it comes to applying my rubber base, I really like to scrub it into that natural nail plate. So I take a small amount of gel on the bottle brush and really work it in to that prepped nail. I go fairly close to the cuticle area, but then I like to come in with my stripe liner brush and get even closer. I find application that way a lot easier and a lot neater, especially when I'm working on small nail beds like my little finger here. It's really hard to get right up close to the sidewalls with the bottle brush, so I'll do so using my stripe liner brush. You can also use your round nail art brush for this as well. Now once I have applied that to all of the nails, as you can see, one coat of this is a really gorgeous and natural pink. You can come in if you just wanted to apply this, if you wasn't doing a sculpted set, and do 2 coats. And that's what I have been wearing on my nails up until now. But here we have the gorgeous Natural Cover Sculpting Gel. There are 4 shades available of the sculpting gel. I'll try and leave the swatch video linked in the description box below. And then to apply this, I'm going to use the Kiki London Polygel Brush. I do believe there are some new brushes coming out soon which will suit this product beautifully. If you haven't got the Polygel brush, you can also use the Kiki London round brush. That's really great for doing overlays as well because it's a bit smaller, but my go-to out of those for applying the sculpting gel at the moment is the Polygel brush. So starting off, I am going to fix up this nail. So we're going to sculpt a new tip. Now, as you can see, my nails aren't that long anyway, but obviously it would be massively noticeable if I didn't overlay on all of the nails and this one was a lot shorter than the other one. So we have only got to sculpt a short tip, and I do this in a couple of different ways. So I'm going to show you guys today a different way than what I might have showed you in previous videos. I'm not 100% sure if I fixed a broken nail in a video using the sculpting gel before, as it is a fairly new product. I know I've definitely done it with the Easy Build Up Gel, which is the Kiki London Builder Gel in a bottle. But starting off, I'm faffing around applying my forms. I always find forms fairly tricky to apply, especially when wearing gloves, because they just want to stick to the glove and not where you want to put them. But once I had got my form in place, I'm going to pick up a ball of gel and I'm going to start off by just sculpting the tip. And in today's video, I did it a different way. Normally I would sculpt the tip, cure the tip, and then build the rest of the nail. But because I want to keep these looking really natural, I don't want to add too much bulk to the nail. And I find when I do it that way, I end up with a more built up nail, which we don't need for this length. So what I'm actually going to do is sculpt out my tip, cure it, file it, and then do the remainder building of the nail. So as you can see, I'm coming in with my ball of gel and I'm connecting that on to the natural nail plate to begin with, and I'm making sure it's pretty much going halfway down that natural nail plate, because you want to really make sure that this tip you are sculpting out is fully connected to your natural nail plate, so that when you remove your form, it's not going to break, it's not going to come away, because it is fully connected on to the natural nail plate. So I started off with a small ball of gel, mapped out. I'm just going up to that first line on the sculpting gel. I always like to sculpt slightly longer than what I want the nail to be, so that I can file it into shape without worrying about taking it too short. So I always like to just sculpt that little bit longer, and I don't stress too much about creating a perfect shape on the sculpting form, because I'm going to come in and file it anyway. So once I've got that tip, as you can see here, I'm just showing you at the sides, it's fully connected down onto the natural nail. I'm going to pop that in and secure for 60 seconds. And then this is where you could come in and you could build up the rest of the nail if you wanted to. I just wanted to perfect this to make it look as natural as possible. And I was really pleased how it turned out, because I felt as though you couldn't tell which nail was sculpted compared to the rest of the nails. What I love about sculpting is you can create a really nice C curve. So if you want that curve to be really natural, like I have here, it's quite natural, but if you want it to look a more deeper C curve, you can pinch your form and then you're going to create a more deeper C in the curve of your sculpted tip. So I've removed my form very carefully, because we have only sculpted a thin tip, so you want to be quite careful with it. However, the sculpting gel is quite strong, so I always remove by opening the back of the form and then pulling down away from that gel. I wiped off the tacky inhibition layer, and then I'm going to come in and file my tip. So if I was doing this on all the nails, or say I had several broken nails, I would do this first of all on all of the nails and then move on to the next step. But like I said, it does depend on what technique you're using to do your sculpting. So I'm going to come in and file this tip into shape, and I'm wanting to get it so it's the same length as all of my other nails. So I've just shortened it down and neatened up the sides, and then I've also debulked it a little bit, because like I said, I want this to look really nice and natural, so we don't want anything too thick. I don't want to have to build up a too thick apex, because I'm not going to have to do that on the other nails, because it's an overlay for one and they're quite short nails. Now, because we have filed, there is going to be a little bit of dust on the nail, so I'm giving that a really good clean with some alcohol, just making sure that we're removing anything, and alcohol isn't going to start breaking down the sculpting gel like acetone would, so I would highly recommend cleaning up and wiping with alcohol at this step rather than acetone. And then I'm going to pick up a second ball of gel, and I'm placing this down just away from the cuticle area, using the rolling technique to roll it off my brush. And as you can see there, I did accidentally hit the skin, so I do have to clean that off. But then I'm just taking that product from side to side, working it down towards the tip of the nail, and I'm leaving the majority of that product in the back third, because we have already built up our tip a little bit, so we don't want to add too much product down at the tip of the nail. So I'm keeping a lot of it in the back third, because I do still want to have a little bit of apex built up, so that we've got a bit of strength to all of the nails. So I'm leaving a lot of that product down in the back third, and kind of just as we're taking it from side to side, I'm not pulling the product too much with me. I'm leaving a lot of it there, just pulling the top of that gel down as we go. Then what I like to do is come in with my stripe liner brush and nudge that product up closer to the cuticles and the sidewalls. What this does is then when you place your ball of gel down, the first ball of gel that you place down slightly away from the cuticle area, it allows you to maneuver it without it running and flooding back into the cuticle. And then all you've got to do is use your stripe liner brush to nudge it up closer. And then what this also means is that you've got a nice natural point where the natural nail finishes and the sculpting gel starts. So as the nail grows out, there isn't this huge ridge that you will see, if that makes sense. It all blends and looks seamless. So that is for now, our pointer finger, we've fixed it. We've now got the length and the strength that we're going to have on all the other nails. So I just need to do a basic overlay on these nails. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a ball of gel. I've not got a tip to build, so I'm going to come straight in at that cuticle area and pretty much do exactly the same as what we did on the second part of that first nail. So I'm rolling that ball of gel off my nail, off the brush, onto my nail, just away from the cuticle area. As you can see, there's just a tiny line where the gel hasn't got quite close enough to the cuticle. And then I'm walking it down from side to side using quite a slow movement. You don't want to move your brush too quickly, because then this is going to pull too much of the gel and it could cause bubbles in it as well. So you're just very gently moving it from side to side. The great thing about this product is it's a really nice consistency. It's not too thin that it's running around and you've got to chase it, but it's thick enough that you can move it easily without having to put too much pressure in with your brush. I find this the perfect consistency. I find it a lot easier to do an overlay with than say a builder gel in a bottle. Now of course there's still a place for builder gel. A lot of people would prefer a builder gel overlay, but I just wanted to show you guys that you can do it very easily with the sculpting gel as well as the builder gel in a bottle. So it's really easy to maneuver when you're just wanting to do short nails as well as long nails as well. So once I had got that in place, as you can see now, I feel as though you cannot tell the difference between these two nails. We've managed to perfect a really natural looking sculpted tip. So I went off camera and did the overlay on the rest of the nails, and then I do still want to file these just to refine everything, to make sure I'm happy with the shape and to make sure that there's no unevenness or lumps and bumps. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of alcohol again and remove that tacky inhibition layer that's left behind after curing. Now the tacky inhibition layer is quite sticky, but once you wipe it away, you'll see that everything underneath is very solid and very strong. So I've wiped that away, and then I'm going to come in with my file and create my shape. So I'm starting off using the 100 grit side of the file, and I'm just going to go in and work on that sculpted tip to begin with, just because it's a little tiny bit longer than all of the nails, so I want to get that looking as uniform as possible. And then I'm going to come in and do that on all of the nails, just get that shape in place using the 100 grit side of the file. When I finish contouring all of the nails and going over the surface of the nails, I'll come back to shaping with the 180 grit side of my file, and I find that this combination gives me the sharpest, neatest looking square. So I'm going to go over all the nails. I'm trying to just keep the sidewalls. You don't want to file into your sidewall, so that's why I was holding my file nice and flat, and you can kind of see on my pointer finger there where it creates the line of dust, and you can see that those lines are very sharp and very straight. So you can kind of follow those lines with your dust, if that makes sense, just to know that you're filing in a very sharp, straight place. Then once I've shaped up my nails, I'm going to come in with my file again and go around the contours of the nail, and I'm actually doing this with the 180 grit side of the file because I haven't applied my product too thickly. I don't necessarily want to debulk or remove too much product. I just want everything to blend and be seamless. So I've applied the product and everything is pretty much the same thickness, but I want it ever so slightly thinner as we come around that cuticle area, as we come around those sidewalls area, like I said, so when it grows out they look quite natural. And then I'm just going over the surface of the nail, making sure everything is nice and smooth, there isn't any unevenness to the nail. And as I'm doing this, I'm checking the nails from all angles just to make sure that I'm not over filing, or if there are any areas that need a little bit more filing, I can see that. Now, if I was sculpting a longer set of nails, building up more of an apex, applied my product a little bit thicker, then I probably would do this step with the 100 grit side of the file. But the sculpting gel does file quite easily, so you do have to be careful you don't over file. It's very easy to over file, especially in areas where you might have applied it a little bit thinner, like close to that cuticle area. And then once I have finished filing, I do like to come in and buff as well, so you want to make sure that you're saving space for that step basically. So once I'm happy with how we've gone over the surface of the nail, this is where I'll come in and just shape any areas with that 180 grit side of my file. I want to make sure that I'm really happy with that shape before I come in and buff. So I'm going to clean away a lot of the dust to begin with. This just gives you a good look at the nails, and then like I said, I'm just dusting off and coming in any little areas you might see you've got little bits of gel just flicking up, or little areas where they just need to be perfected that little bit more. I'm going to dust away the dust. I've got a good view of the nails, and then come in and do that. Then I'm going to come over the nails with my Kiki London buffer, and I do this quite quickly. I go in with the 100 grit side to begin with and just completely go over the surface of the nails, with a couple of swipes. Then I'll flip it over and go over again with the 180 grit side of the buffer. And what this does, it just smooths out any of those scratches that are left behind from filing, so that you're not going to see them when it comes to gel top coat, and it gives a really nice smooth finish to the nail, but not too smooth that your top coat is not going to stick to it. If you sit there over buffing and buffing the nails to a shine, then your top coat is going to have nothing to grab onto. Now, once I did finish buffing, I didn't show you guys on camera, but I dusted away all of the dust and give them a really good clean with some alcohol. So I gave them a good scrub with a hard brush, just to make sure that there was no dust left on the surface of the nail before we come in and apply our top coat. And then for our top coat today, I'm going to be using the crystal top coat because I thought this color just deserved the most incredible shine. Obviously this color is called Natural Cover, so it's a really lovely natural shade, and I think it works really pretty when you are just doing a short natural set of nails because it keeps everything looking quite minimalist. So I'm going to come in, apply a thin coat of top coat. I had a little tiny bit of skin sticking up, so I did nip that off with my cuticle nippers, just so that my top coat didn't catch onto that and then just it would look unsightly. Then once I have finished applying my top coat, I'm going to pop this in secure for 60 seconds, and this is the finished result. I actually love how pretty this color looks. It's such a beautiful shade. If you haven't got this one in your collection, I would highly recommend it. It's like I said, it's really lovely consistency to work with, but then it's got that really pretty color to it as well. Now we are going to come in and apply our cuticle oil. So I'm just applying a small drop of this to all of the nails to really nourish and replenish and keep those cuticles nice and soft. And then I always add on a pump of the K&S hand lotion now as well, just because then this gives your skin on your hands a little bit of TLC along with that cuticle oil. And I find if I do it right after applying my cuticle oil, you've got all the oils and the goodness from the cuticle oil mixing in with the hand lotion as well. So it leaves you with a super soft feeling skin, which is a necessity now that it's getting a little bit colder. Now, I really hope you all enjoyed today's video and picked up some tips and tricks. If you have any questions or if you need any help with the sculpting gel, please do pop them below and I'll be happy to help. As always, all of the products I've used will be linked in the description box below. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to the Kiki London channel, I would absolutely love it if you hit that subscription button. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Lots of love. Bye bye.